In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you how you can create these cool alcohol ink and resin pieces, great as fridge magnets or as paperweights. So stick around, that's coming up next. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Art with J. Monteith. Today I'm super excited to be sharing this video with you. I've had a number of people requesting this particular one only because I had put a post on Instagram not too long ago with this little guy, and I had a number of people asking, how did I make this and can I do a video on it? So today, without further ado, I'm going to be sharing this with you on how to make these cool resin and alcohol ink pieces that you can, use them for pretty much whatever you want, really. You can make them into coasters. You could actually, put a couple together and make them into paperweights. You can even make fridge magnets with them. These are great little projects if, even if you have kids or grandkids or you just want to put some flowers on your fridge. So great projects, great gifts, easy to make, and like I said, they are honestly a blast to do. So let's go ahead and get started on making these alcohol ink and resin pieces. All right, so the products that you'll be needing today are, of course, first and foremost, your molds. These are the silicone molds. I have several here. These are the 4-inch round ones that we'll be using to create these pieces here. And then this piece, I used a smaller mold, but it's a lot deeper. So if you wanted to make really thick ones, you could use a deeper mold. And then, of course, I have the floral ones here so that you can create your flower fridge magnets. These are pretty fun and cute to make. Then, of course, you'll be needing your inks, whatever colors you choose from your favorite line. And, of course, mine are from Jacquard, the Panada line. These are from the Exciter Pack. And, again, all of these products will be listed in the description box below. There's a link there, so if you want to buy any of these products, then feel free to check that out. Then I'm also going to be doing a little bit of experimenting with a dropper and a syringe. I actually use this one for masking fluid. I have a video on it, sort of like a drip splat kind of ink technique. So if you wanted to check that out, I'll leave the link in the video box for you to check that out if you want to. And then, of course, lastly, you will be needing your resin. And I am using, as always, our resin. This one is the best one to use. I'll be using that to pour into our molds. And then, of course, lastly, you don't have to do this step at the end, but I like to just trim the lip off of the resin pieces. And then sometimes there's a little bit of resin that gets stuck on there. So it's always nice to just finish off trimming those pieces with an X-Acto knife. So you might want to consider getting one of those as well. Okay, so I think we're ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and mix up my resin, and I'll come back and we'll start the first step of pouring our resin and adding our inks. All right, I have finished mixing my resin. I've mixed this for 3 minutes, and it's just finished settling there for a few extra minutes longer. And I'm gonna go ahead and start pouring in some resin. So I'm gonna do a few where I just place some resin halfway in and let that also dry overnight, and then I'll continue with a second layer. And then I'm gonna do some where I just do the whole thing today. So we'll see how they turn out. And I'm gonna do obviously some flowers as well here. Hopefully I've poured enough resin. And what else? Just make sure that your molds are clean too. I've used these a few times, and you don't want any of the debris or dust or any other ink left over in those molds. So make sure you clean them out pretty good. Okay, so I'm just gonna set that aside for a minute. And now I'm going to put in some of my inks. So the colors that I'm using today are similar to what I used here. So I've used, this is actually multi-layer. So this first layer here that you see is the first pour, and then I just left it overnight and it cured, and then I started with a second layer. So depending on the look that you're going for, will determine, what you want to do here. The flower that I made, this one here, this was all one pour. So you can see actually how the gold actually settled to the top. So Different inks will produce different results. Some are heavier than others in the resin, and I find that the gold and the white actually react a little bit differently. So I'm going to go ahead and use some purple and blue, and I've got my gold here, and then yellow, and then I've got some white and some pink, some magenta pink, which is my favorite. I love that color. It's just, these two colors are my favorite, the Baja Blue and the Senorita Magenta. Love them. Okay, so let's go ahead and just do a little bit of a pour. And I just realized I took off my lid off this one. Okay, this is why I don't have clean hands ever. I should be wearing gloves, but I can't do gloves. I don't know. Anyway, all right, let's just go ahead and see what happens here. And let's do some purple. Purple flowers. And we'll do some blue. Now, if you use the white, it'll actually drop more into the mold. That's what I've been finding anyway. So depending on how much you drop in there, and I'll do a little bit of gold in this one also here. Just remember to shake up your metallics, and I'll put in some gold here. Everybody needs some gold, right? It just looks so pretty. Okay, and I'm gonna leave a couple here to cure, and then I'll do another layer tomorrow. So I'll have to come back tomorrow to show you those. Now I'm gonna try just putting in some ink deeper with this syringe, and I'm gonna see what happens there. This is totally something I'm trying, a new technique, and we'll see what happens if it gets like a deeper into the resin there. Okay, so now I want to take off this lid again. Okay, that's the reason why I had the lid off in the first place. Okay, if I'm being honest, the dropper, I think, works better in this application. I'm going to do a big circle here. See how that goes. I actually decided also that I'm going to do ink on the bottom first, just to see if that produces a different result, because that would be kind of a neat effect also. So I'm just gonna do a few dots here and see how that turns out. Maybe I'll do some white as well. Okay, let's pour some resin in there and see what happens. Whoa. Oh, that's coming up around the sides. That's kind of cool. Okay, so I'll continue on and I'll be right back, and then I'll have all of my little cups finished. Okay, I have finally filled all of my little dishes or molds or cups or whatever you want to call them. And I've done a few different techniques here. So I'll just recap quickly. I put actually a few in the back here you can't see with just resin. So as I said, I'm going to let that cure. And then there's a few down here that I have poured in halfway of the resin and just a couple of different colors. And then there's a few where I've actually put the ink in first and then poured the resin over top. So over in this corner you can see this is more of a cloudy effect when you put the resin in first before the molds. And remember that if you put gold in, it does float to the top. Now over here I've poured in extra resin, poured it over top. See how that kind of effect turns out in the morning. And then this one I also poured in extra resin as well over top. So they're all slightly different in the way that I've poured in the resin and the ink. And this is the best part. You just kind of let it sit there, and then you come back the next day, cover them over, and see how they turn out. Okay guys, it is the next day and I'm so excited to see how these turned out. I'm gonna pull off the cover here. Oh, they look so pretty. And I just wanted to let you know that I actually added a second layer of resin that you didn't see in the video so far, because I actually did it before I went to bed last night around 10:30. So you don't have to wait a full 24 hours if you want to add a second layer of resin. You actually have to wait about 7-8 hours, just so it's hard enough that you can add more resin, and then 24 hours is what it needs to be fully cured. So I did a few extra little things in these molds that you obviously haven't seen on camera. So but I'll explain what I've done, and I'm going to go ahead and pull these out of the molds. I'm really excited because it's very, very sunny outside today, and I want to see how these shine in the sunlight. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Oh, these are going to look amazing. Hopefully I don't rip any of the, here's the first one. Oh, it's so cool. And there's, see what I mean by the white? The white actually settles, as does the gold. So these are the two things you have to remember when doing that. So this is the one I think I used the syringe on, but this is super cool. I like that. Okay, so that's number one. Let's take out a few more here and see how this one turned out. Oh, this one's cool. Look at that one. That one's pretty neat. So they look different from the back to the front, depending on the layer that you've done. So I'm gonna go ahead and just quickly take out the rest, and then I'll show you all of these in a moment. Here are my resin pieces now all out of the molds, and I think they turned out fairly well. There's a couple things I do differently, and like I mentioned before, the white and the gold you really have to pay attention to because they aren't as translucent, and they settle right to the bottom when you first put them in on the top. So just remember that part. So there's a couple pieces that happened to. However, my favorite one, I put the white ink on the base of the mold first, and then I added my resin. So I found that was a better effect with the white. It turned out really, really pretty. In fact, as I said, this one's probably my favorite, along with this green one here. I think this one turned out really well. In fact, I might even put those together and make those into a paperweight. Super cool. And then this one here is also one of my favorites. It's really, really pretty. This was just the one with the pink, and I just did a circle with the dropper into the ink. So yeah, that one turned out really well also. And then of course my little flowers. This one I did a little bit of a drawing into the resin itself. So if you wait for the resin to dry to a point where it's almost like a molasses consistency, you can then take a toothpick and draw more resin, different colors, more tinted resin, so with red ink. And then draw into your mold. So I did that one there with the flower, and I did it also to this one too. So I don't know if you can see that on the back there also. So I think overall they turned out really, really pretty, and I'm gonna go ahead and put my magnets on the back of these with a hot glue gun, and then I will put those on my fridge. Thanks so much for watching today, guys. I really appreciate your time. Please give this video a like and a share if you found value, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for weekly art videos. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day. We'll see you guys again real soon.